Emotions aren't good or bad, they're just information.
You're listening to Overwhelmed Working Woman, the podcast that helps you be more calm and more productive by doing less. I'm your host, Michelle Gauthier, a former overwhelmed working woman and current life coach. On this show, we unpack the stress and pressure that today's working woman experiences. And in each episode, you'll get a strategy to bring more calm, ease, and relaxation to your life.
Hi, friend. Today, we are going to be doing a Thursday book review about the book Atlas of the Heart by Brené Brown. As a reminder, the reason why I sometimes do these episodes where I review a self-help book is because I read lots of them and I love them, but I know not everyone has the time or desire to read a whole book. So what I aim to do in these is give you an overview of the book and give you what I think are the most pertinent parts of the book so that you can either take that and never read the book or think, oh, wow, I want to know more about that and get the book yourself. So if you're already a Brené Brown fan, today's book might be on your list. But if you have not read Atlas of the Heart yet, I think you'll walk away from this episode with a few new ways to think about your feelings and your emotions, even if feeling your feelings isn't your favorite thing. It used to be my least favorite thing in the whole wide world. So if that's the case for you, I totally understand. I'm holding my copy of the Atlas of the Heart in my hands right now. It is really a beautiful book. It has beautiful art on the front, and my copy has, I'm looking here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bookmarks, one of them being a Kleenex, unused Kleenex, I'm happy to report, but I don't know, maybe I was doing some crying when I was reading this last time, but when I go to do these book reviews and I get out my copy of the book, I always love seeing all the things I've commented on and highlighted. So I'm going to tell you today the 3 things that I really got out of this book. Number 1 is the difference between stress and overwhelm. This has been really influential in my coaching, and I will tell you why. Number 2 is that emotions aren't good or bad, they're just information. And then number 3, why being with someone in their pain, whatever emotions they're having, is powerful. Okay, so let's talk about why this book even exists. Brené's big message in this book is that the language to talk about and understand our emotions and our feelings gives us power. So we can name what we're feeling, not to just say, I'm fine or I'm stressed, but actually identify what is happening inside us. We have more power to be able to move through it, to connect with other people, and to take care of ourselves. She says in the book that most people are able to name and identify 3 emotions: happy, sad, and angry. That makes me think of the first Inside Out movie, Happy, Sad, and Angry, where like 3 of the main characters. But there are so many more. This book actually has 87 emotions and human experiences and helps us understand what they really mean and how they show up in our lives. Okay, so let's start by talking about the difference between stress and overwhelm. Stress means we feel under pressure, but we still believe we can manage it. It might be a lot, but we're still functioning. So sometimes a stressful day where you have a lot going on and you get it all done, it can feel good. It can be even a little bit motivating. Overwhelm, on the other hand, is when it's all too much. I'm going to read you a direct quote of what she says in the book. Overwhelmed means an extreme level of stress, an emotional and or cognitive intensity to the point of being unable to function. I think that is so profound and interesting because when I talk to people, because of course we slow down in coaching sessions and we really talk about how do you feel when you're overwhelmed, most of the time what people say is they can't do anything. So you're completely mentally, emotionally, physically shut down when you're in total overwhelm. Clear thinking does not happen when you're in overwhelm. Where stress, yes, there's pressure, but you can still manage things. This one was a really big game changer for me. And I think it's really important for us as women, overwhelmed working women, that when we are overwhelmed, we can say, I'm feeling overwhelmed, and that can disrupt the cycle and give your nervous system just a minute to breathe. In that feeling of overwhelm, for me, it almost feels like a spinning or something that you can say, oh, okay, I know what's going on. I'm overwhelmed. It can disrupt that cycle and give your nervous system just a second to breathe. The cure to overwhelm, per Brené in this book, is not more doing. So something I say in my coaching a lot is overwhelm is a volume problem. And so doing more, adding more volume is not the way out of overwhelm. Sometimes you just need to step away, even just for a minute. I don't mean if you get overwhelmed at work, you just pack it up and go home for the day. That'd be nice, but it's probably not an option most of the time. But that's when you need to step away from the computer, go walk around the office, just go sit in your car and take some deep breaths. The other good reminder about overwhelm versus stress is that our body will often tell us which one we're feeling, and they often feel different in our body. So stress for me feels like a light overwhelm, just maybe a little bit of tightness in the chest, but nothing too serious. But overwhelm feels like a tight chest and a fuzzy brain and a really short fuse, and everybody gets on my nerves. So it's really helpful actually when our body tells us before we consciously realize that we're in overwhelm. The other part that I love about this book is the whole concept that emotions are not good or bad. They're just information. So we tend to judge emotions like shame is bad and joy is good. But Brené invites us to look at all emotions as neutral messengers. So they're just neutral, trying to tell us something. And we don't have to love the emotion, but it's still important that we listen to it. For example, if you feel guilt, it might mean that you acted out of alignment with yourself. If you feel envy, it might show you something that you value or something that you wish you had. And it's just all information that we can take in. When you're able to name your emotion, when you say, I'm feeling resentful instead of I'm fine, it really gives your brain something to work with, and it lowers your emotional intensity when you understand how you're feeling. Another thing that stood out to me is that suppressing emotions doesn't make them go away. Suppressing emotions doesn't make them go away. Dang it, because I sure did try on that one, but I'm the first one to tell you it doesn't work. What normally happens when you continue to suppress your emotions is that it comes out in another way, in your bodies or in your relationship or in the middle of Target when you have a complete breakdown or freak out on your kids. So when you feel an emotion, the best thing to do, even though when I tell my clients this, they're always like, really, I don't want to do that. It's just to allow that feeling, name it, allow it, see how it feels in your body. And I promise you, I've done whole episodes on this in 2 minutes or less, that feeling will have passed and you will be okay. Another great reminder about feelings is that you can feel two feelings at once. So this is a beautiful thing about being human. We can hold two opposing thoughts, two opposing feelings at the same time. So you can feel relieved and sad, and you can feel grateful and resentful. And I think that's really helpful for us to know, because sometimes we do, in many situations, have conflicting feelings, and we can feel those both at the same time, and that's okay. They're both valid. The goal here isn't to feel good all the time. The goal per Brené Brown is to feel fully, and that's where connection really truly happens. One thing that I love that she talks about, it's actually not in this book, it's in another one of her books, but she says, when you flatten your emotions and don't allow emotions like sadness or anger or frustration or resentment to come out, and let's say you express those at a 1 out of 10, then you can also not feel a high level of joy, presence, peace, all these other emotions that we would much more enjoy feeling. So she says if you flatten your emotions, you flatten all of them, not just the bad ones. So that helps me when I'm feeling sad, and I really lean into my sad to know that I'm giving myself the ability to feel all of my emotions very deeply. The ones that we often perceive as good, the ones that we often perceive as bad. And then the last thing, I could talk about this book forever, but the last thing is that being with someone in their pain or whatever emotions they're having is powerful. A lot of times, if someone opens up to us, it can feel a little panicky to try to handle the situation correctly. But just sitting with someone and saying that sounds so hard, or I see you're really sad, I totally understand that you're sad, just really naming their emotions with them as they're telling you about it is a great display of empathy, and it takes the onus off you to try to fix anything. So if someone, your kids, your spouse, someone on your team starts to tell you how they feel about something, remember that just being with someone and their emotions can be really powerful for connections. So this is a great book if you want a better relationship with yourself. If you've ever said, I don't even know what I'm feeling right now, or you're raising kids or managing teams or just trying to be a little emotionally aware. This book isn't a quick read. It's more almost like a textbook about emotions. So it's the kind that you might want to read a little bit and then put it down, and then read a little bit more and put it down. But it's a great one to flip open if you're having a hard day and you want to figure out what your feeling actually is. I highly recommend it. Okay, that's it for this week. Thanks so much for listening. Hey, if you're a new listener or even an old listener who just hasn't done this yet, would you please take a minute and do a rating and review? The rating is where you just click the stars. That one takes 2 seconds. But if you take an extra minute and do a review and write what you love about this podcast, I would be so grateful. As we continue to get more and more reviews, we continue to climb higher and higher in the rankings and get more listeners. And that is my whole goal for this year, is to get into the top 1%. Right now we're top 1.5. So I want to get into the top 1% of podcasts globally and reach as many women as possible so that everyone can get totally free information about how to feel less stressed and overwhelmed. So if you would take a minute and do that for me today, I would so appreciate it. Have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Overwhelmed Working Woman podcast. If you want to learn more about my work, head over to my website at michellegothier.com. See you next week.